I wish I was better with Zoom. Okay, so again, hello everyone. My name is Arville Craig. If you don't know me, I'm the director of AI at a company called Bot Builders. Been in performance marketing for about 10ish years, marketing in general for 20, 25 years, too long. Um, and so, what I want to do in this presentation is I want to really talk about what's the hottest thing where businesses and organizations need to focus and what I'm doing when it comes to AI and how you kind of need to plan moving forward. Like, what's the hottest, most important things to understand today? But I'm also going to quickly go back towards kind of what I've seen over the past 3 years. I've been in this AI chat GPT world since 2 weeks after chat GPT came out in 2022. And I've been in bots and conversational marketing, conversational AI since 2017. And it's funny, this company, Bot Builders, I'm in the office here. It's a 20-minute bike ride from my house, which is crazy. And they started around the same time. You can see here, we've hit the Inc. 5,000 4 years in a row, which 4 years ago was like what, COVID. So this company has definitely shifted from building bots and teaching bots and helping businesses use all the various chat bots to now using AI and bots and automation to grow. So that's kind of what Bot Builders is as a company. We provide education and training, and we have like done for you services, which is real like how to build your whole marketing stack when it comes to a funnel, running ads, and then running bots. Again, every channel, voice, text, social, websites. And then we do some other kind of things. My role is I teach AI to business owners. I run workshops every week. I run mastermind calls every month. I do a lot of summits, a lot of events, and I have my own team where we do some kind of unique projects, some unique consulting, things like that when it comes to more specialized AI projects. And so what I wanted to do was this slide here is when I first used to try to help business owners understand what AI was. Originally, my mind was like, if you want to know about AI today, generative AI, even though AI is 50 years old, the current world of AI was with the way you wrap your head around it. I saw it as content, code, conversations, and counsel, where everybody knew ChatGPT could write words, but you also had Midjourney and all these image AI things. You got 11 Labs and all these audio AI things, and then there was AI video. And of course, that content section is still one of the main things people think about when they think about how do I use AI? How do I use it? How does it write for me? Stuff like that. But then there's the code, which AI has always been big in writing software and making apps. Originally, that was cool, but I was never a developer, so I never really focused on that. And I always felt like you had to be a developer to really understand how to use the coding aspect of AI. Of course, that's changed because with all the vibe coding, you don't need to, anybody can benefit. And I work with a lot of businesses now, which is crazy. A lot of business owners who just play around with AI and they're vibe coding or writing software with AI to make their own custom dashboards and tools, and they know nothing about software. And that is a thing that is very common now. Some companies say, I'm writing my own software, I'm solving my own problems with AI. They're like, okay, Arvell, how do I take this to market? How do I find other businesses that can use the code or the software and the dashboards that I built? How can I sell it to other people? And so that's an interesting phenomenon that I'm finding is very common now. So then, of course, there's conversations, right? AI, ChatGPT doesn't just talk to you. But again, as long as it's been out, businesses have plugged ChatGPT into their chatbots, into their voice, their text, their phone, their customer support, their websites, their socials, the DMs, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever, WhatsApp. So that's still a common thing that with minimum training, an AI can talk to customers for you, talk to leads, talk to prospects, and that's still the truth. And then lastly, there was the counsel aspect, the fact that ChatGPT knows everything. And so people would use it instead of Wikipedia or YouTube or podcasts or Google, where you can learn and educate yourself and figure anything out. You could say, hey, what's my favorite book? Teach me this book. So there's a lot of training and education use cases that AI was doing and is still doing today. So this is my original perspective of what is AI, generative AI, and what does it do. But then as things evolved, it was like most people only thought about AI as ChatGPT. It's like, okay, let me just go to ChatGPT and see what it can do. But I always said that AI is not just ChatGPT. Of course, there's or large language models or chatbots. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, Llama, those were the main ones that people would use to talk to AI. I will update you and say the main three right today, the main ways people use a large language model or chatbot is ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. I think Grok just announced last week that the parent company XAI is like no longer. It's like Grok and XAI is actually being moved into I think SpaceX. So they're definitely not continuing to try to be a major player. And Llama, which is from Meta or Facebook, they've definitely depreciated and they're no longer a major player. I mean, technically, there's some Chinese models and overseas companies that are really good, but just wanted to update you all. ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude are the main three. But then I would try to work with businesses and like, okay, you're trying to learn AI, you're trying to use ChatGPT, and I'm like, legacy apps, you're already using Canva or Google or HubSpot, Salesforce, Microsoft tools. Instead of you trying to learn ChatGPT and prompt, you might get faster adoption by learning all the AI features that are already in your existing tech stack. And that's still true today. Every AI company or every software company is like an AI company. They're all adding AI into their mix. And that's still relevant. If you have security concerns, privacy concerns, but you're already approved to use certain software, it's still very beneficial to learn your existing, what's the AI features that are already in your existing tools. That's still relevant. Then you got the niche apps, which again, Fathom, Fireflies, Whisperflow, Mem, V agents. So there's tons and tons of new companies that are coming out that do very specific things. And I mentioned earlier, AI writes software. So if you know how to write software, you can definitely, a lot of people are coming up with new ideas. And it's funny, this category is like, to me, it's minimizing. Actually, both of these last two categories are minimizing in the way I talk to companies and way I see AI is being used because this ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude are getting so good and so big, they're starting to do all these niche app features or like no code builders. Okay, I need to build my own custom solution. If you're not a software person, I would say, you use Make and Zapier and N8N and all these automation, no code builders. You can build out your own workflows, your own strategies in your operations by using these no code builders. That's what I used to recommend. But again, because ChatGPT and Claude are so smart and vibe coding is such a relevant thing that people can do now, depending on who you are, the main thing is that things are really changing in the sense that these two categories are becoming less and less and less. Just like Joey said earlier, you can vibe code, you can create your own software now. Not that I recommend it, not that it's worth your time or your energy to do it, but depending on your company and who you have in place, that could be a viable option. So, but let's get into kind of what's a little the newest way I'm looking at how we're using AI, and how I recommend businesses begin to think about how do we get into AI. And I will stop sharing my screen or stop the presentation. I will quickly demonstrate some of this. This particular slide, let's just say with like Claude from Anthropic and kind of show you how I wrap my head around some of these things. So these four categories, automation, personalization, integration, and orchestration is my newest framework for helping businesses, professionals understand how do I use AI today? Or how do I use AI agents today? And the word agents is definitely, there's no real definition of what it means. There's no consistent perspective of what an agent is. But the big shift in AI today is that when it comes to AI doing stuff, writing words, making images, writing software, doing videos, it's amazing. It's already crazy. It's so good that I'm less the need to prompt or to be a perfect prompter. It's just so smart. It can do stuff for you right now. Um, and so that's interesting. I can pause. Anyway, so the main thing is things are shifting. So the big key today is um, it's less about prompting. It's more about how do you integrate AI into your existing business, or specifically ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. How can you connect ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini into your existing tech, your CRM, your email, your calendar, your your Facebook, your Google, your lead management system? What are the opportunities to integrate the intelligence of ChatGPT and Claude into your existing tech? So it can simply do stuff and drive stuff and get it done. And you can give it a goal and it can figure out the best prompt. Reverse prompting is a big thing. A lot of times I'm telling clients, you don't worry about prompting, but you can ask ChatGPT or Claude, what's the best prompt to create this video? Or how can I prompt you to make this image? How can I prompt you to fully understand how to manipulate my Excel spreadsheet? So using AI to talk to AI is the best prompting strategy I could definitely give you. And so because it's so smart, again, you don't need to worry about that. But the key here is integration. Is again, if you feel comfortable, if your company, depending on where you work, if you have to get permission, if you have permission, how do you integrate ChatGPT and Claude into your existing tech? And that's going to drive a lot of the benefit that you can get. Next is let's jump in personalization. In the past, it was how do I learn about AI? How do I prompt right? How do I talk to it? How do I understand what it can do? Today, I'm all about does your AI understand you? Does your chat GPT or Claude know your goals? Does it know your job? Does it know all the hats you wear? You've got this job, you've got this side hustle, you got this role. Is it contextual and does it understand all your roles? Does it understand your quarterly goals? Does it understand, your KPIs? Does it understand your values? Does it understand how you write? Have you given it examples of your writing? Does it understand your ICP, your customers? Does it understand who you're targeting? Blah, blah, blah. Does it understand your brand? Did you teach it? These are the colors. This is my font. This is the way I like to write. Because all those things you give AI the things that matter to you. So then when you're like, vibe code me a website, make my slides, make my presentation, it doesn't have to start from scratch. You've already trained it. You've personalized it about your brand, your customer, your job, all your different jobs, your roles, your writing style. And therefore, again, you're not prompting from scratch. You're not writing this huge long prompt about you are a chief executive officer of a lead generation performance marketing company and all these prompt templates that we used to use. There's two problems with that. Number one is that it's just inefficient to have to put all that stuff in there every single time. Or in the past, we used to try to stay in the same thread in ChatGPT because we felt like that was going to help it remember us. But when you've been doing that for 2 years, ChatGPT only has so much memory, and you can't just keep stuffing and stuffing and stuffing and hoping that it's going to remember all the thing about you through that same thread. And that's one of the big issues with AI. If you don't understand this aspect, you can't just keep flooding it with more and more information. The memory, or call it a context, will blow out and it just doesn't remember. Instead, you personalize it through settings, through skills files. You personalize it through using projects. You silo or segment the way you talk to it. And there's more efficient ways to use AI that's personalized to you. And it's actually a lot easier. So we went to integration, personalization. automation, which the main thing is that how do you get AI to do stuff automatically instead of you going into it all the time? And this is somewhat, most people may think of this as like agents, which it is relevant to the context of agents. Really, to me, agent is really all three of these. It's AI that is integrated into different tools. It's AI that knows you personally and follows your SOPs. It follows your frameworks. And it's AI that works in an automated way where it's not just you going into ChatGPT to talk to it, but it does certain things every day. It does certain things every hour. It does certain things in response to when something happens. A lead comes in. Of course, you got your basic automations and your basic workflows, but the AI agent or automation is also triggered to take care of certain things. It's looking at your calendar. So there's different ways that you can automate the way your AI works. And then the orchestration layer is definitely the most sophisticated aspect of where AI is. It's like it's an orchestrator. It's over the orchestra, right? It's the agent. It's the AI that manages other AIs, right? And it's the most really it's the most that's the most exciting thing that's happening. You may have heard of something called OpenClaw or other types of agent type systems. It's pretty much AI over AI. So that's kind of these are some of the so these four categories are the ways that I look at AI today. You come to me and say, "Hey, Arvell, how do we use AI?" I'm like, "Okay, what are you using? ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini?" Neither. Okay, let's start there. What's your CRM? What's your lead system? What's your marketing? Show me all the tech you have. Is there any relationship between your tech and your main AI tool? No? Okay, let's deal with that. Does your whole team, do you have a Teams account with AI? Is it just individual people with AI accounts, but there's no connection? Okay, does AI know about you? Did you teach it stuff? And how do you organize the different teachings? Does it understand your insurance vertical? How is the insurance vertical, those regulations and compliance siloed versus your mortgage vertical versus your home services? Is there any type of organization in there? Okay, so we have to personalize it, silo the way you use it, connect it to your tools, and then let's see where do we need to automate it. Okay, so this is kind of a summary of all these things: personalization of skills, your voice, your values, integration, which is called connectors in most ChatGPT and Claude, and I think Gemini too. How does AI get connected to your stuff? How is it automated? What kind of schedule does it work? And again, orchestration, which is, again, I say that's kind of advanced, but these are the different, again, high level views of how AI works. Let me see anything else I want to show. I guess you could say from an orchestration perspective, this is kind of how I think about it is, so every AI, I can say every AI is smart. So this sub agent is like AI doing stuff. But again, the more advanced, what I'm starting to do is build the most intelligent AI. It can manage other AIs. Again, this knowledge base is my rules, my SOPs, my writing style, my brand voice, all the different things that it needs to know about me. And then,
Arvell,
from an
I'm
operation.
sorry. Can you go back to the previous slide for me for 1 second?
Sure. This one here.
That one, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, no worries. So again, and that last one was more on the how do you bring it all together, and that visual is kind of the thing that I'm starting to build. And when you get into more autonomous AI that manages other AI, that's what that looks like. It's so interesting, and I'm actually really getting into critical thinking because what I'm learning and just through my research and through, it's, again, AI is infinitely intelligent. It can do everything. The thing that's missing is the critical thinking. It's deciding, where do I use AI? What's the most important place to put my resources, my money, my attention. But there's a lot of thinking and change management is the biggest constraint in companies that have AI everywhere. It's strategy and it's critical thinking that even myself, because I'm in this world all the time. I'm messing around with it all the time. But it's how do you think through what's the best thing to do? So my last slide is this kind of perspective that I'm kind of summarizing how I'm thinking about AI. At the base layer is the task layer. Your company, your people actually doing work. And technically, sometimes it's AI, sometimes it's people. Understanding who's the best person to use is still the task layer, right? But then after you get your tasks and you got your prompts and you know what you need to do, you got your stuff, how do you automate it? How do you add more automation and integration so that it's not manual every single time you go to chat gpt to do stuff? How do you connect workflows and tasks? That's the automation aspect. And then the orchestration aspect is when you have an AI or a person really can see the full picture of all the AI, all the automations, all the agents, all the actions, and being able to manage the entire team. And this is actually a real key thing that I'm seeing in like larger companies, the way they're hiring. That skill is a critical skill. And then lastly, the decision level, the critical thinking level, where there's strategic planning, hiring the right people who are AI native or who are AI enabled or AI literate, AI fluent. That the way you hire, the way you see the future, the way you kind of really reinvent the way your company works is really important. And but yeah, so let me and give me like we got 20 more minutes. Give me 5 minutes, and I'll just show you a real simple way some of this stuff looks in real life. So if I were to just try to work this integration, personalization, and automation, like what does that look like in reality? Let me just show you what that looks like in the sense of just using Claude, for example. How do I think about how do I use AI with these categories? And let me just open up my Claude account. And if those of you haven't, most of you may have heard, but most professionals in the past 3, 4, 5 months have been moving to Claude instead of ChatGPT, simply because Claude as a company has always been, I should say ChatGPT was like Walmart and Claude was like Whole Foods and I don't know, Grok was like Hooters or whatever. But the main thing is that Claude was always bougie. It was always a little bit better, more picky, more values. But ChatGPT was made for everybody. It's got more capacity. It doesn't put you in timeout if you use it too much. You could do whatever. It can do a lot, images and video. It had Sora, and it was trying to be everything to everybody. But professionals, but somehow Claude just became the best for business, not originally just writing. And then it became great for software and coding. But then somehow their team, it's great if you look into it. The guy who manages their software, he said since November last year, he's never written software since November. He's a professional software person. He stopped writing software in November because the AI was that much better. And not just writing, I'm talking about writing and editing. So all that to say is what that means is that not only is it better than him, of course, he got his whole entire team. Claude, as the company has made so many updates to their software because, of course, the software can write the software and can fix the software. And so they have been getting so much better, probably because of that reality of how they use it. But and again, just to clarify, in the past 30 days, again, I'm not the most nerdy of nerds, but I'm like one level below or two levels below. But technically, ChatGPT from the nerdies of nerds is actually better than Claude as of 30 days ago when it comes to writing software and doing things. So all that to say is it's always known that you don't have to pick and choose. You don't have to chase the best. Um, but let me just share with you real quick how I think about what I just shared with you through Claude. So first off is how is Claude integrated into my existing technology? So if you want to see how to connect your chat GPT, and it's the same with all of them, Gemini or Claude, there's a section called connectors. So I'm going to go into settings, and then there's connectors. Okay, connectors has moved to customize for whatever reason. That happened like in the past day. That was like not like that yesterday. So the connectors is where I say, Claude, I want you to go into my Gmail, check my email, manage my email. Check my calendar, manage my calendar. I've got a meeting coming up. Remind me what I need to know or do for this person. Go into my Google Drives, blah, blah. This is the connectors. This is where you connect it to other stuff. I use Clay for my prospecting. So if you click the plus symbol, you can browse connectors, more and more companies. You use Canva. You can connect your Claude to Canva. I want you to, design me a new flyer. Do this. So again, remember I said there used to be these different apps that does everything, like Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini are either connecting to all the major tools out there, and or they're just doing everything themselves. So that's why the tech stack that most companies need is just ChatGPT or Claude, and then keep your existing legacy software that you've used for years that you trust. But the connector section is how I integrate my AI into Twilio, into this, into Zero, into my QuickBooks, into Microsoft Teams, Panda Docs. I need to send out proposals and get contracts signed. I could go on and on and on. That's the integration, what that looks like. The second thing is going to be, how do I make sure my Claude knows me, writes like me, sounds like me, understands my values, understands what I do? There's two ways to do that. Number one is using projects. Projects is just a folder, but the fact that I'm trying to think what's a good example. Arvel, content writer, email writer. I don't know if that's the good. I got so many of these, but operations manager. What is that? So this is a project that when I'm in operations mode, it's trained. Like, this is one master prompt or system prompt that knows all about what I do, how I do things, what tools I use. And therefore, I don't use that enough. Let me go to a content one. Content repurposer. There we go. Geez, Arvel runs bot builders and design that speaks. Does all this kind of stuff. He talks about this. He talks about that. This is his focus. This is his goals. Arvel has discovered 70% of value from transformation. So this is a fully trained project, and it has examples of my business cortex, bot builders, my role as bot builders, my role in my personal brand. And so it's fully my voice and my tone. How do I write my examples? Da, 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 da. So it's fully trained to sound like me. And this agent or project is mainly for repurposing content versus my email copywriter that talks about how I write. Here's examples of my email. These are my emails from the past. This is one of my mentors' email. So all that to say is this is how I personalize it through projects. And secondly, I personalize it. If I click on customize, I'm sorry if I'm talking fast, there is skills. So this is kind of technical, and I can't get into all of it, but a skill is like a workflow or an SOP that does a repeated process. So this is how you train again, and this is in ChatGPT. The skills section is in ChatGPT, and it's in Gemini. Technically, it's in Perplexity, and it's in OpenClaw and all the weird agent stuff you may hear about. And it's in Copilot, just to clarify. So when you understand the skill of making skills, This is how I teach AI to follow my processes, my step by step by step by step procedures for various things. And but this is a section in Claude specifically where you add new skills. I can either upload a skill, just like you would upload a prompt. There are skills you can find online, which I wouldn't recommend. I'd recommend, again, you take your existing processes. I don't care if it's in Asana, if it's in a Google Sheet, a Google Doc, if you do a Loom or a video, you can give all that stuff to Claude and it can take it and turn it into a skill. You say, create with Claude. I'm just going to have a conversation and it's going to automatically follow my process. So if I'm looking at doing a new offer, I just got a new client, he's in debt, and I want to come up with a new twist and say, how can I come up with a really cool offer to sell a debt offer for Father's Day? So you see, that was me doing a text to speech. So let's say I'm doing this and I'm coming out with an offer to sell. And I run and I ask Claude to help me. I'm going to see right here, reading the 7-figure offer skill. You see that? The thing about skills, when you train and put skills in your Claude, you don't have to even look for it or call it out by name. It's so smart. It knows that when Arvell is coming with offers, we've already been trained with how do we come up with an offer. We use the 7-figure offer framework that goes through people, packaging, pricing, positioning, and process. So this is an example of how my Claude is trained with my skill for how to create offers. So if I have a assistant, somebody else in my team that I need to make an offer, I'm going to give him this skill and put the skill in their Claude account or ChatGPT or Gemini, and it's going to automatically pop out and be used to make sure the way I want Claude. I don't want Claude to come up with its own system. I don't want to Google and search and go through YouTube. If you have something that works, the goal is you want to teach your AI to do what you do best. And one example of that personalization is a skill. And the last thing I have, my last 60 seconds, is automations. So just in Claude, if I wanted something to be automated, I'm going to go to the co-work tab. There's chat, there's co-work, and there's code if you have the desktop version. And I'm not going to get into all the details there, but in the co-work side, there's a scheduled option. So one of the things that I have as a automation is every day, my Claude will go through my inbox and it'll create a morning brief. So every morning, I think it already ran today. It ran today. It checks my calendar. Is this today? Yes, today's. It'll check my calendar. It'll check my email. It'll research what's the latest thing with Anthropic. What's the latest thing with any other AI tool? Go High Level, Clay, OpenClaw, Lindy. What's the latest news about change management with AI? Theory of constraints in AI. Any speaking opportunities. But this is what it does for me every single day. So that this is one of the examples within Claude that I use as an automation that does stuff for me on a regular basis. Again, you may be looking to compliance, you may be looking into your competitors, but anything that you do, how do you automate it? So I have this here in Claude, I have this here, there. I've got some other things as well, but that's an example of a simple way to begin to do automations. And then you got routines here, which is more of in the Claude code. But so that is, let me get my slide here. That's the kind of the conclusion of Today with AI. How do you integrate it into your tools, personalize it so it knows you, and then create automations so things that happen on a daily, a weekly basis. I do use other stuff. I do have an OpenClaw where I use that in like Telegram that does more fancy stuff. But for everyone here, you can do all this in ChatGPT. You can do all this inside of Gemini. I'm pretty sure you can do it in Copilot. Again, I've got a link here where you can book a call with me. You want to get an audit, or I can go through your business and really see what are the opportunities, mainly in these 3 levels, to help you out and help you start to integrate AI for where I think is most powerful today. And we've got 8 minutes for questions. And
Arvel, first
yeah.
and foremost, thank you so